Well, new year, new plan, clearly, for Justin Trudeau. Doing exactly what he said he wouldn't do just a number of weeks ago, Trudeau has stepped down. This isn't news to you. You've heard it all day, likely. Justin Trudeau is planning on stepping down as the leader of the Liberal Party and as Prime Minister of Canada, but with a few little caveats there, some pretty upsetting things when you really get down to it. We're going to talk about that today. Update for you. This is the bare bones information before we get into the juicy stuff. Trudeau steps down today. Parliament is prorogued. Pause the whole thing until March 24th. That's going to allow time for a Liberal leadership race. Trudeau is going to sort of take all credit for giving his party a small amount of chance to do well in this next election by going through a full and extensive leadership search. Who is going to be the next big cheese of the Liberal Party? Ultimately, will that even matter at all when we get to the end of the day, given how the polls are looking right now? We're gonna wait and see on that. But there will be time for a Liberal leadership race. And he says he came to that conclusion because he said, I'm no longer going to be the best leader. I can't look out for Canadians' best interests if I'm constantly fighting these battles within my own party. This is what he says is what changed. So there are the base facts of what happened today. Proroguing Parliament, that means nothing is going to get done over the next 3 months until that March 24th end of this prorogation, this pausing of Parliament, seemingly a departure from the message that was being given out just a number of months ago, 1 or 2 months ago, saying, now is the most important time for us to act for Canadians. We need to work on housing. We need to work on affordability. We can't call an election. We can't allow anything to slow us down unless there's controversy in our party. Then we'll just pause it all for 3 months and everything's going to be fine in the background. Just trust us. Just trust us. That's what you hear. We're going to play a few clips today. Some clips talking about, okay, the reason he's actually proroguing Parliament, and here's a hint, it's not because he's planning on stepping down. It's for an entirely different issue. And this is something that's being lost in all the traditional media, something that's not being covered. It's not because he's stepping down. It's for another reason. We're going to talk about how Trudeau and many other politicians like him are asking us to trust again in the institutions that we've trusted in over the past 30 years. It will make Canada better. But better for who? We're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to go over some of Trudeau's critiques of Poilievre, specifically critiques as well. We're going to cover of what Poilievre said in the recent Jordan Peterson interview. A lot of stuff today. But most interesting to me is some personal speculation I have, some questions I want to ask you about what actually happened 3 weeks ago. We had a live stream on the channel, a 5-hour live stream ended. You might remember this with me wearing a hockey helmet for the last hour of it. What really happened that day? What really happened the day before? Because there are multiple stories out there and they're not quite adding up to me. We're going to get into all of that. First, I want to listen in on the Trudeau's original announcement from today. This is a clip about what he's doing and why he is proroguing Parliament. Again, it's not because he's stepping down. It's for another reason entirely. Let's listen to this. By the way, new setup here. New year, new me. New year, new Liberal leader. New year, new me. New desk. What's new in your life? Should be able to switch over here. Can I control? Oh, that's the wrong button. There we go. We're learning. We're learning the new setup. Look at that, folks. A beautiful view. Let's listen in. Look at this, producing the show myself. Let's do it.
No, I'm a fighter. Every bone in my body has always told me to fight because I care deeply about Canadians. I care deeply about this country, and I will always be motivated by what is in the best interest of Canadians. And the fact is, despite best efforts to work through it, Parliament has been paralyzed for months after what has been the longest session of a minority parliament in Canadian history. That's why this morning I advised the Governor-General that we need a new session of Parliament. She has granted this request, and the House will now be prorogued until March 24th. over the holidays. I've
Okay,
also had a chance to
let's pause it
reflect.
there. Let's pause it there. He goes on to announce, "Hey, I'm planning on stepping down." The thing that's interesting here is the prorogation, the pausing of everything. He's saying that's not about me. That's not about the decision I'm about to make. That's not about giving my party time before the election to find a new leader. If you're seeing that, look the other way. There's no man behind the curtains. I am Oz, the all powerful. It's not because of him. What is really happening here is it seems that Trudeau is saying Parliament just isn't working. Regardless of my decision here today, over the past 3 months, we've barely done anything. And there's one thing that he's correct about. Not a lot has been going on inside of the House of Commons. Let me switch back here. You can see me a little more clearly. Boom. Look at that. We're high tech here, folks. It's not to give his party the time to find a leader. That's not why we're pausing. It's because we haven't been able to get anything done for 3 months. He's dead right about that. Absolutely right about that. Nothing has been happening in the House of Commons. Now he goes on in this press conference to say the reason that nothing has been happening is, well, the Conservatives have been stalling and doing these tactics that will just delay and delay and delay, and we can't get any of our bills done because they're delaying and not allowing us to get our important work here as the Canadian government done. They're obstructing our path towards serving you, the average Canadian. This is what they're saying. And they're saying, hey, we need to pause this because when we come back, we'll be refreshed and we'll be able to actually tackle all of these pressing issues that are on the docket. Now, if you've only heard that, it seems perfectly reasonable, right? But then once you consider the reason why everything has slowed down in Parliament, well, it's not as clean cut as he's making it sound. Yes, the Liberals say, well, Conservatives, they're just slowing everything down. But the Conservatives, they say something entirely different. They have a different story to tell. The story that they tell is that, hey, we requested documents about a sustainable development fund. A fund that has put hundreds of millions of dollars at a minimum into a fund that different companies can apply to. Now, if they're green enough, if they meet certain quotas, certain criterias, well, then companies have been able to get a lot of money from this fund. Now, the fund is now closed, and you'll understand why in a moment. They shut this fund down. The Conservatives are saying, hey, wait a minute. Where did all of this money from this fund go? Did the companies actually contribute positively to the environment? Or did this money find its way into the hands of people that you may be connected to? Did this money make its way to your friends, liberal insiders, consultants that serve all of the politicians? How much of this money wound up going directly into feed the mouths of and the families' mouths of consultants and well-connected people in the Ottawa area? These are the types of questions that have been asked, and the documents that have been requested to be provided by the government who was sitting during all of this time of this fund. But alas, they will not provide these documents that the Speaker of the House of Commons has said, hey, we agree with you, Conservatives. You have the right to these documents. The delay has been a result of the Conservatives being able to slow things down because they're saying, hey, we're not letting this go. You're obligated to give us these documents. Would they really prove anything? Would they really prove wrongdoing by the Liberals, by Trudeau himself? Who knows? We don't have the documents. But there has been a lot of talk recently about a company called Lion Electric, who allegedly got money from this fund, increased the share values of that company, and a number of the people who worked at that company quickly sold off the shares of Lion Electric. I believe it's called a Lion Electric. You can correct me if I'm wrong. Sold off those shares, and now, well, that company is no more. It's no longer making batteries for electric buses or whatever it said that it was doing in the first place. It's a quick government cash infusion, pumps the value of the stocks. Those stocks are sold by the owners of the company and people who have shares in the company. And at the end of the day, they make a lot of money. The company gets shut down. And why did they make a lot of money? Well, because there was government money funneled into this company. So is there more stuff like that? We don't know. We don't have the documents. So was this prorogation actually to give time for a leadership race so that we could have a strong Liberal Party headed into the next election? Well, yeah, maybe. Maybe. He says it wasn't. He says we're slowing it down because Parliament is at a standstill. No mention of why. But it seems that this prorogation is serving two purposes. One, allow that leader to be found. Two, let's just push this scandal to the side. And that's very, very similar to what we've seen in the past. Do you remember? Do you remember back in 2021? 2021, when the federal government, okay, there we go. We're going to pause this. Take a look. Take a look here. This is from 2021. This is 4 years ago. Well, 3.5 years ago, I suppose. 2021, when or I believe it was late 2020, federal government prorogues Parliament, just like we're seeing today. And why did they do it? Well, largely to cover up a scandal by proroguing Parliament, largely the We Charity scandal that you may have heard of back at the time. So this isn't unprecedented territory for the Liberal government. It is unprecedented territory for Trudeau, who's never been told he must step down by his entire party. That certainly hasn't happened. But the getting away with potential conflicts of interest and the getting away with potential fraud as a result of proroguing Parliament, so that, okay, all of these committee hearings, all of these things, we're going to pause them, and then we'll restart and probably won't talk about them again in the future. People's attention span will move on. That's happened before. That's happening again, even if he says, well, I'm doing it because the Conservatives have slowed down Parliament. Now, I want to get into another issue here because it relates directly to one of the biggest claims made by Trudeau in this speech that he just gave today, saying he would no longer be leader of the party. It comes down to the idea of Canadians trusting institutions. Canadians trusting institutions and having faith in these institutions. Now, many politicians will argue that Canadian faith in institutions is what helps our economy and our society run smoothly.